Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy presented by Betfred. Today's video, we're getting to must start and sit wide receivers. We're going to run through each and every matchup for week 1. I'll have the chapters, have everything graded out so you guys can find which games, which players you're specifically looking for so we can help you. What is our initial thought, I guess, on you're fresh off the draft, so there's guys you took early that you're just playing. You drafted them in the first 5 rounds.
Yeah.
I think I'm not thinking about it very much, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's some guys that you can look at that you maybe took in the 8th or 9th round, like some sleeper wide receivers for sure, that the matchups this week just aren't super favorable for some of them. And we'll get into a couple of them, but it's always good. Like, make sure you just optimize your lineup the best way possible. And just starting the guys fully in the order that you took them is not always the best thing to do. Like, look into defensive stats and watch videos like these. So we will definitely let you know.
100%. There's just certain teams that match up a lot better. So we'll go through some of the numbers from last year in terms of coverage grades or against the run, all of that, and then we'll take into account some of the changes these teams made as we get into each guy. If you guys enjoy the video, be sure to let us know. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. We're getting you everything you need to get ready for each and every week this fantasy football season. Waiver wires, buy low, sell high, must start, must sit. We'll have it all for you this season. So subscribe to the channel to get it all season long. Let's get into Thursday Night Football, a game I think we're all very, very excited for. Bills, Rams.
Yeah.
Let's leave out 3 players. I think no doubt in a matchup like this, we're going to be starting Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, and Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nothing too much to discuss with those 3 guys. I think Robinson, we talked about this in the running back rankings video, is the Bills' absences at corner. So Robinson, to me, is a very big play this week for sure. So let's talk about the biggest thing here, which is the Gabriel Davis discussion. Is this the matchup?
No, I don't think this is the matchup for Gabe Davis. I mean, so a guy I would look at preferably over him at this point is Isaiah McKenzie. The main reason being the slot corner for the Rams, Troy Hill, and he is garbage. He is absolute garbage. The other guys, like, I wonder what they're going to do with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. You know, like, you brought up a good point. Like, maybe they're going to double team Stephon Diggs and then leave Jalen Ramsey on Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, a little bit bigger receiver than Stephon Diggs. Jalen Ramsey's typically better with those kind of guys. Has stumped those receivers in the past. So I'm not really looking at putting Gabe Davis in my lineups this week. A lot of his lines on sportsbooks are juiced too. Obviously one of the more popular players in fantasy as well. So this is a matchup where I think you could leave Gabe Davis on your bench.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. I do want to wait and see. I think Isaiah McKenzie's an interesting play, like you mentioned, in your deeper leagues, your 14-team league. I mean, so for some of you, Isaiah McKenzie might be on your wire. So I don't think that he's an absolute play, but I think I could feel confident in reception totals with him. Gabe Davis, to me, is someone that's got to hit a big play, and the Rams are known for their ability to kind of put the cap on opposing offenses and not allowing big plays. Let's get to Lions-Eagles. I think it's a really intriguing matchup for the Eagles side of the ball. So A.J. Brown is someone we're firing up, of course, but Devontae Smith is someone I'm a little bit down on. I am down on this year, but when I look at the Lions defense, they earned one of the worst coverage grades from PFF last season in all of the NFL. And obviously their focus in terms of early draft capital was on Aiden Hutchinson, was on Jameson Williams. So I'm not sure how much better it's going to be this season. So if you drafted Devontae Smith, you're absolutely starting him this week, is in my mind.
Yeah,
I love it?
Yeah, that's it. I don't love that start. He's like, you kind of have to against this secondary at this point.
That's the thing, is like, if you drafted him, this is a matchup you'd be wanting to play him in, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. I think he's a good flex play this week for sure. But this Lions secondary, like with Jeff Okudah, I wonder if he's going to have a much better year this year. Like, they've really been waiting for him to kind of explode, and he's exploded in injuries and everything but being productive on the field. But, it goes back to the fact, like, this Eagles offense runs the ball a lot. Like, will Devonta Smith be able to get enough production to be a value to your fantasy team this week? But you're totally right in saying, like, if you did draft him, you kind of do have to start him this week.
100%. Yeah. That's pretty much all. Like, that's all the pass catchers on the Eagles side of the ball. Like, let's get to the Lions. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is another guy. You drafted him. You're going to play him. The Eagles secondary, pretty good. Pass rush, good. I don't think this is like a off the page a matchup for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but as long as Jameson Williams is out, this is a guy I'd be starting every week. We saw that late season volume from Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I think that's something definitely to look into. A guy, honestly, I'm looking at this week to potentially start in deeper leagues is DJ Chark.
No.
I know T-Mac doesn't agree with it, but I think DJ Chark's actually a pretty good receiver. He's a great deep threat. And with Darius Slay taking on Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think DJ Chark could be in line for a sneaky good week.
Yeah, I'm definitely not starting DJ Chark. Not week one. Maybe down the line I get impressed with what I've seen and he gets consideration, but not yet. Let's get to Colts Texans. So Colts side of things, it's really it's Michael Pittman show. I'm maybe a guy like Paris Campbell or Alec Pierce is someone you can stash. Of course, this is a good matchup. The Texans had one of the worst coverage grades in the NFL last season, much like I just mentioned about the Lions. But between those two guys, to me, I've got to see who separates as the clear two before I'm willing to risk playing either one of them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Michael Pittman is a must start this week, and if you have him, he has to be in your lineup, and you're taking him super early that it just makes sense.
Yep.
And then, on the other front with the Colts, you don't really know, but it's also a sneaky flex option to take because apart from Derek Stingley Jr., this Texans secondary didn't really make any improvements, right? So I think they could be one of the worst secondaries heading into the NFL this year. And then on the Texans side of the ball, to be honest, I'm avoiding a lot of guys on this offense. Like Brandon Cooks is going to go up against Stephon Gilmore probably. Like that's mash. That's
that's a mismatch. Brandon Cooks is someone you're going to play though, right? Like
I don't know.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to sit a guy like that, especially with the lack of competition between him, Brevin Jordan, Nico Collins,
Chris Conley.
Like I'm playing Brandon Cooks because of volume, even if this could be a tough matchup. The Colts defense was solid last year against the pass, and could be better, like you said, with Gilmore. So it's a tough matchup, but there's no way I'm sitting Brandon Cooks.
There's some other
8-team league, maybe in 18 leagues.
Yeah, I don't know. Even 10-man leagues, like Brandon Cooks' ADP obviously skyrocketed a lot closer to the drafts, but I still think it's one of those. It could be like a Gabe Davis situation. A lot of people are high on him, and I think he might get stumped by Stephon Gilmore. He's like the absolute complete utter mismatch for Stephon Gilmore. Like Brandon Cooks is smaller. He's maybe a little bit quicker, but Stephon Gilmore is just like he's a blanket on all receivers.
Devontae Smith or Brandon Cooks then.
Probably. Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. Probably.
I thought you just say I don't like Devontae Smith. I'm taking Brandon Cooks.
No, I don't like Devonta Smith this year, but he's against the Lions. Like, I don't know. That's a tough one.
You're the analyst, brother. Make the fucking decision.
Gun to my head. I think I go Devonta Smith.
Okay. There we go. We're learning something today. You guys are learning something about Ryan's purely decision-making thoughts on those two guys. So that's always good to get to the people. Now let's move to Browns and Panthers. So Stephon Gilmore is obviously out of Carolina, right? But the Panthers, decent coverage unit. I don't think the pass rush will be nearly as good this year now that Hassan Reddick is gone, right? But the Panthers were pretty bad against the run. Their PFF coverage grade was like 52.2, I believe. So we could see a ton of Nick Chubb on the ground, like we mentioned in the running back rankings. That's why I'm so high on him this week. So I'm in a tough spot in terms of being able to trust a guy like Amari Cooper. Maybe I could play a guy like David Njoku. I know we're not going to be talking tight ends in here, but like, man, I don't want to play Amari Cooper.
There's not too many receivers I'm looking at to start this week in this matchup. To be honest,
the Browns had one of the best coverage grades from PFF last season. I think I really respect the Browns defense. So playing DJ Moore is tough. I think I'm going to do it, and I'm doing it anyways with where I drafted him. I'm not very excited about it. I will tell you that.
Yeah, no, I'm right in line with you there. Like a good option. He's a rookie. He's been flying up draft boards as well, but also super sleeper, I guess, at this point is David Bell. Could get a look, but other than that, I would really try to avoid this matchup at all. I think this would be a pretty low-scoring, slow-paced game.
So do I. Browns, I believe, are at home in this game, too. So I really think this puppy's going to be slow-paced, low-scoring, even if the weather is going to be actually nice in Cleveland.
Is it? It might be in Carolina, actually. It might be in Carolina, actually.
Oh, is it? No, I think... Oh, no, you might be right. You're right. I think it is in Carolina.
Okay.
49ers, Bears. This is where things get a little bit more difficult. I think the Niners are going to be able to run the ball really well. Again, the Bears run defense wasn't great last season. So the decision for everybody here is we have our Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle trio. You talked about this when we did running back rankings of how much pass volume is this team going to have in a easy matchup.
Yeah.
Where they might not need to show their cards too much early on in the season.
Yeah, I think the one guy I would definitely start with confidence is Brandon Ayuk. Like obviously Deebo too, but Trey Lance and him have showed the rapport over the tail end of last season. Ayuk put up great numbers when Lance was the signal caller, so I think you can start him with confidence. And then the Bears receiving core, like I don't really know.
Running Darnell Mooney out there.
That's
like,
it.
You're going to do that.
Do not try to get cheeky with any of the other receivers on the Bears at this point. I don't think Byron Pringle or Velus Jones Jr. is going to be doing any favors on anyone's fantasy team this week.
No, there's really nothing to consider there. Like especially with the 49ers pass rush against this Bears offensive line. Like I will pass on anyone other than Darnell Mooney. Jaguars Commanders. I think this game is going to be a points fest. Over at Betfred, I'll be on this over for sure.
Yeah.
But I really love over at Betfred is Christian Kirk's receiving total, 55.5. I think the Commanders have one of the worst secondaries in the National Football League, and then we've got Chase Young out for week 1. I think this is an opportunity for the Jags to really get things going. Gives them a chance to give Lawrence some time in the pocket. Kirk, to me, is really, really good opportunity here as the pure slot guy now with Laviska Shenault traded. I think this speaks volumes in terms of where they're at with him. I think he's going to be on the field for not just the majority of snaps, for 90+% of snaps. This guy's going to be out there and a very important target for Trevor Lawrence. So once this line comes out with reception totals as well for Kirk over at Betfred, I'll be looking to find him there too. But Kirk is a major target at the sportsbook for me this week, and a guy you have to be starting. If you drafted this guy, I know it's a 9th round pick, but he's someone you have to play this week. Yeah,
I'm in lockstep with you there. To be honest, a great flex option, and I'm starting him in one of my leagues this week, is Jahan Dotson. Just like T-Mac said about the Commanders, the Jaguar secondary is really bad as well. I know preseason obviously doesn't mean a lot, but they had the worst preseason secondary ranking by a mile. Last year, too, they were bottom 3 in the league. Dotson's that big play receiver, and he's built quite the rapport with Wentz, according to all these camp storylines that are coming out. So I think Dotson could even be a better play than Scary Terry week 1.
Would you rather play, because obviously you're talking Jahan Dotson is a pretty deep, like a deeper league type of play.
Yeah, but like a 12-man league, Dotson I think would be drafted near the end of the draft. Yes, I think he's a stash on people's benches.
So would you play Jahan Dotson or Amari Cooper?
I actually think I'd play Dotson.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think just because I also like the game flow. I think it'll be, like we said, a lot of runs in that Browns game. I think there'll be a lot of passing in this game because the Commanders, obviously the D-line,
the Commanders were
really
good against they were good against the run.
Yeah,
they were really good against the run. The Jaguars, though, not good against the run.
But that would be my only concern. They do have some pretty good edge rushers and a few good guys inside. So I think
Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Right.
So,
yeah, I think Dotson could be a sneaky play in your guys' leagues this week.
Pass catcher wise for the Patriots Dolphins game. Did we miss anything else in the Jags Commanders? Right? Terry's out there. No, we're good. So Patriots Dolphins. Dolphins. We're going to run out our Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill tandem. Again, you draft those guys. You're playing them. They're 4th round or earlier type picks. Patriots is where we can have a discussion of what the fuck we want to do.
I mean, I think really the only receiver you could consider
Hunter
starting,
Henry, if we're calling
if we're calling receiver, and maybe Jacoby Myers, just because of the target share he commands, but his touchdown volume is really low. So I'd have a lot. Other than him, I have pretty much every other Patriots receiver on a sit.
If there's a team in week 1 that I just don't want to I'm going to want to watch a lot of, but not have any investment in, it's the Pats. With how much they let go of during the offseason, losing, or they still have Matthew Judon back, but they let a lot of their linebackers go.
Devontae Parker,
let J.C. Jackson go.
Devontae Parker, revenge game. Yeah, that's a big.
Devontae Parker is someone who I think is actually played well in camp. Could be battling for the number 1 spot with him and Jacoby Myers. No chance.
No.
I'd rather play a Jahan Dotson for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Definitely.
That's pretty much everything on that game, pass catchers wise.
Yeah, there's not much to go in that game.
Let's go Steelers Bengals. So let's start Steelers. I think that's a bigger discussion point here. Is I had some questions from our running back rankings on Chase Claypool and if you're wanting to play him. The Bengals secondary was was good, was pretty good. But how do they play? How do they play this? I think the way they play this matchup against the Steelers too, against a bad offensive line, is they can probably make some plays in the secondary.
100%.
With the number, they might have some more numbers in the secondary, being able to like get pressure with 4, and how inefficient the Steelers are on the ground too. So can we? I don't think I want to play a Chase Claypool because the Bengals will probably leave those explosive plays. They show that off in the postseason, being able to kind of put a cap on the explosive plays. What about George Pickens?
I think George Pickens could be an interesting play. We don't really know like what this guy can do yet in an NFL setting. So if you're really struggling for receivers, throw him in there. But other than Deontay Johnson, I'm definitely like I would start Pickens over Chase Claypool this week though. I'm really sitting Chase Claypool for sure. The Bengals have a very sneaky cornerback room in terms of depth. Like that's one of the main things this offseason and in the draft actually was where they picked it up. Daxton Hill is a guy their first round pick, the safety out of Michigan, and then they picked up another guy in the second or third round. His name's escaping me right now, but along with Von Bell, Jesse Bates, obviously Eli Apple's not great, but he's a good slot corner who can mitigate keep
him inside. Don't let him play the outside.
Yeah, exactly. But on the other side of I think I'd rather have, especially in like a DFS league, I think T. Higgins is a great play this week because he actually went off against the Steelers last 2 out of his 3 career games against them. He had over 100 yards in 2 of them and a touchdown in both. I think there'll be a lot of focus on Jamar Chase. I think T. Higgins could be up for a really big week this week.
Yeah, beyond Micah Fitzpatrick, the Steelers secondary struggled last year. So I think you're firing away obviously on Jamar and T. But other than that, I got to see what is going to happen with the tight end spot, like how involved Hayden Hurst is, or if this is more like Tyler Boyd takes what C.J. Uzomah gives up as opposed to giving it to Hurst, because Boyd has been a solid, steady player for them for years now. So that's pretty much everything on that game. Ravens-Jets. The Jets are at home, right?
The Jets are at home.
The Jets are at home. The spread on this game is the other thing that we've talked about for a bit now. It's like 6.5. The Ravens seem free, especially when you consider how bad the Jets were both against the run, or very much against the run. I think they might have been the worst team in the NFL in terms of run defense, courtesy of PFF last year. And I think this Ravens team wants to run the shit out of the ball. Yeah. So I'm playing. I think I want to play Rashad Bateman in this game as well.
Yeah.
Depending on what you see from Ahmad Gardner, whether he's looking at Mark Andrews or whether he's just going to be on the outside with Rashad Bateman, I'd probably lean to him being more on the outside. So then in that perspective, I have a lot of respect for Ahmad Gardner's talent. So that could make playing Rashad Bateman a little bit tougher. But
no, I agree with you there. I'm not going near any of the Jets receivers this week, even Elijah Moore. This Ravens secondary is back and better than ever. Like obviously their performance last year and their grades from last year are bad, but Marcus Peters didn't play. Marlon Humphrey was hurt for a while. Mm-hmm. Their lead corner was pretty much Jimmy Smith, along with other guys that aren't even on the team anymore.
I think they cut Jimmy Smith.
So Marcus Peters, and then they picked up another safety in the
Marcus Williams from the Saints.
Yeah, in the offseason. This secondary is scary. And with even like Joe Flacco is starting at quarterback, I can't see him doing a lot.
Listen to me, Ryan. Listen to me, folks. We're playing Elijah Moore. We're running that fucking man out there. In the starts that Joe Flacco had last season, Elijah Moore had a 31% target share. I don't care about the opponent with Elijah Moore. I think this guy, healthy on the field, is someone that will get significant volume, especially early with Garrett Wilson as a rookie needing to kind of earn his opportunity in the offense. We don't see those rookies immediately produce. This is the window. I don't care who's at quarterback. I'm playing Elijah Moore this week. And again, I know what you're saying about the Ravens revamping the defense. Marcus Peters is not the player he was 4 or 5 years ago. I still think Marcus Williams is obviously a very talented player. We'll see how things come along for Kyle Hamilton, but I'm playing Elijah Moore. This guy to me is just matchup proof because I think he's going to get significant volume, and I need that. That'll be especially helpful for a guy that was going in the 7th, 8th round.
I hope you're right because I'm taking the Jets +7. So I hope you're right. I hope someone scores on the Jets because someone's going to have to.
It'll be Elijah
keep us
Moore.
in this
It'll be
space.
Elijah Moore.
It's gonna be some random.
Otherwise, like I said,
it's gonna be Tyler Kroft,
Garrett Wilson. He's not playing Elijah. You're not playing Elijah Moore. So you're not playing Garrett Wilson then.
No.
Ravens side, we covered Rashad Bateman. I think you can run him out there. But if I do like a Devontae Smith, I'd rather play than Rashad Bateman this week, to be completely honest with you, just to give you an idea of where I'm at with Rashad Bateman. I do think Ahmad Gardner is going to be a very good player in the NFL, and that we could be focusing on him every week of like, all right, who's the one? Gardner has him. Can he slow this guy down? And Bateman is a good player, but he's not, top tier, upper class talent in the NFL. Saints Falcons. What are you gonna do with the Saints? What are you gonna do with the Saints pass catchers?
So you know what I'm doing in this game, and it's honestly mainly based on feeling and what I'm hearing from camp. I would start Chris Olave, but I'd bench Jarvis Landry.
I would do the other way purely because of the rookie veteran type of deal.
Fair enough. I feel like Jameis might be a little bit more excited with Chris Olave than Jarvis Landry.
Yeah.
Could be a feel, but also man, the Falcons secondary is low key actually pretty good. There's two starting corners. AJ Terrell
Terrell's
great.
Terrell's
and
great.
They picked up Casey Hayward, who's the best corner on.
Oh Lord, brother, I watched Casey. I know he had a good year. That was Gus Bradley's system in
Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, if he has to play any man coverage, he'll get fucking cooked.
I think because I don't think Mike Thomas is going to play week 1.
I think he is. No, he's been practicing. They said he's ready.
Okay, they've been very quiet about that.
Yes.
But I still think I think you have to start Chris Olave and Mike Thomas. I wouldn't start all three of them. If I had one of them in each league.
Right.
I do think this secondary is a little bit underrated. So that's my opinion. I think the Saints will have the ball a lot because the Falcons' offense isn't very good. But I wonder what the game script is going to be with Dennis Allen.
Yeah, I think the Falcons. I do get what you're saying with the corner spots. I think I play Michael Thomas, and I kind of want to sit Olave and play Jarvis Landry. I just don't. I hate saying I don't know, but I mean, we can see what we see in practice, but MT was out. Where are they at with these other two? In a really intriguing matchup. I'm taking a shot on maybe both of them in DFS lineups, but I'd rather go Landry in a pure who do I start between the two situation.
Yeah, it's a very similar situation to this Rams secondary to the Falcons. If AJ Terrell wasn't a part of this secondary, they'd be probably bottom 3 in the league. Mm-hmm. Who knows how Casey Hayward is going to do this year after a great season last year.
He's getting up there. I don't know what his exact age is, but he's
getting a little and
mid-30s.
Landry and Olave are quick, and I don't know what Mike Thomas's game speed is going to be after not playing for pretty much 2 years, but these guys are fast. So one of them will for sure go off, and I think it's going to be Olave.
Drake London.
No, not against this Saints secondary. I don't like Kyle Pitts, sure, obviously a tight end, but I don't have.
I feel the same way just because I don't know where I think he could very well get plenty of volume this year, but the Saints defense is really good. With where I took him, I think you'll have better options that we've already talked about that you can go with, at least for this week.
I'd rather Dotson than Drake London this week.
Raiders, Chargers. We're firing Mike Williams. We're firing Mike Williams. We're firing Keenan Allen. We're firing up Devontae Adams. Hunter Renfrow. The Chargers are going to be without J.C. Jackson, so in that way they're running it back with the same secondary, and I don't have a lot of confidence in Michael Davis, and I do like Asante Samuel, but he's somehow it seems like Michael Davis has supplanted him on the depth chart, which is concerning. So without J.C. Jackson, I would probably play Hunter Renfrow this week. Honestly, this could be a really pass-happy game because the Raiders, I don't like the Raiders' pass pro or ability to run the ball in this game. I've talked about it. I think the Chargers' run defense is going to be drastically better than last year. So I think I'd play Renfrow in a game. I think the Raiders will be trailing and throwing the ball a ton in.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's a pretty good point on Hunter Renfrow. I think there'll be a lot of points scored in this game. Mike Williams is an absolute must start. This is my favorite prop too. This week, receiving prop. Mike Williams over, right now I'm seeing a range of yards, but anywhere over 60, I would take him. I'm locking that in at Betfred as soon as the line becomes available. He last year in his lone game against the Raiders, he had 120 receiving yards, 17 targets, and 9 receptions, and a touchdown. And I mean, he went over this receiving yard total, over 60 yards, 10 out of the 16 games last year. This Raiders secondary has gotten worse after last year, and they were bottom of the league last year. Casey Hayward gone. The only really efficient corner is Nate Hobbs. They did pick up Anthony Averett from the Ravens, who was put an absolute blender last year. I saw Jamar Chase feast on that guy game after game whenever they played the Cincinnati Bengals. His PFF coverage grade last year was below 55. Apart from Nate Hobbs, pretty much everybody else on the secondary had a coverage grade of below 60.
And they're changing up the defensive coordinator too. So like,
I think this is going to be, and Mike Williams, that big playability, you can get this in 2 plays almost.
Yeah.
Like I think this is an absolute must play on your card, and then he's a start. He's a must start this week for sure.
Yeah, I like Mike. I like that a lot. I'll be hitting that too. Let's go Chiefs Cardinals. Marquise Brown might be the highest on the player this week in terms of their ADP during the season to where I have them this week. Marquise Brown's my wide receiver 8 this week. The Chiefs losing Travarius Ward and Tyrann Mathieu. I think Marquise Brown is the deep ball big play guy. God, I think he's going to have a monstrous week. I think he's going to have a huge week against this Chiefs defense. The other guys we need to talk about, though, and very sneaky, is A.J. Green and Rondale Moore. I think A.J. Green plays that like possession type receiver. Marquise Brown more to make big plays. If you feel like in those deeper leagues, if he's still available, man, I would consider adding him because I think he could get decent volume with Hopkins obviously being out. The other one, though, is Rondale Moore with no Christian Kirk, with Chase Edmonds gone. Does Eno Benjamin really take over the Chase Edmonds role, or is Rondale Moore that guy close to the line of scrimmage in the middle of the field? Is he the guy that makes plays? Because he's obviously got great after the catch ability. We saw that last season in those little spurts. 2 guys I'm very intrigued by, but it's about we're here to give you advice and decide who to start, but who is the better option is the question. I'd probably lean Rondale Moore, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Green is like one of my favorite players ever to come in the NFL. I was a huge fan of his at Georgia. He's getting up there in age. It was real
he's bounced
sad.
back, man.
No, yeah.
I respect the hell of it because there are guys that have like gotten to the point where he did with injuries that just kind of end up being like.
And I thought it was done after he left Cincinnati, and I felt for him last year when the Bengals had that playoff push, and he was kind of just sitting at home. Like he had that Instagram post. It's like felt so bad for him. I do like him in this. Like the Chiefs don't really have a lot of big bodies in the secondary, and to be honest, they're not super quick either. I really don't think this Chiefs secondary is going to be anywhere near as good as they were last year. The only guy that maybe has a little bit of traction is L'Jarius Sneed, but he can't cover all 3 of these guys. So I think my top 2 in this would definitely be Marquise Brown, and then AJ Green would be my second.
I think they're both interesting. McDuffie was the guy they added through the draft. He's still an undersized guy. He's a good coverage.
He's a nickel guy. Yeah. So he'll be on more probably, I guess. He plays in the slot a little bit more, right?
Yeah, McDuffie probably will. I haven't dug too deep into their defensive sets at camp, but if McDuffie's there, then that's a bit tougher for Rondale. But
Rondale Moore he'll be playing in the slot.
That's what I would.
Right?
That's what I would assume. Giants and Titans. The Titans' coverage and secondary was sneaky good last year. Kadarius Toney is practicing. They're telling us he's going to be ready for week 1. I love Kadarius Toney, man.
I'm not starting Kadarius Toney this week, I'll tell you.
I'm a little bit worried about this week. But I have my thing is when he's on the field, he demands volume, demands targets. That's what I've said to you guys all preseason. So as long as he's out there, I'm playing him as a mid wide receiver 3, right around wide receiver 30 is probably where I'm looking at. So I'm definitely willing to play him this week. Otherwise, with the Giants, I don't know. I think they have a chance to take advantage of the Titans' defense on the ground with Saquon Barkley. So I think other than that, I'm going to be waiting on a guy like nobody's playing Kenny Golladay. Might as well just quit playing fantasy football if you're going to consider playing Kenny Golladay. But a Wan'Dale Robinson, I guess, for example, I would be playing. Titan side of things, anything you want to say on those 2 guys? I think
Treylon Burks you could see a big week from him here. Obviously there's not much to talk about in this wide receiver room because there's not a lot going on. Robert Woods is out. There's Treylon Burks. There's the kid from UCLA, Kyle Phillips, who are
Robert Woods. Obviously, is like
Robert Woods. Probably, I don't think he'll play.
No, he's good. He's good. Robert Woods is good.
He's playing week 1.
Yeah. So yes.
Really,
Robert Woods is ready.
Huh?
Yes. I'm probably going to. Honestly, I'm probably going to sit both of these guys because the Titans their pass pro is bad, but their run blocking is good. And I think against this Giants team that kind of lacks that interior defense, obviously they got Kayvon Thibodeau through the draft, but he's obviously the edge guy. So I think this team will run the ball a ton. And I kind of got to wait and see. I feel like on both of these guys, unfortunately, I think there's some better guys to look to this week?
I would consider Burks, but overall, I think I'm sitting pretty much all receivers in this game. I think it'll be very running back heavy in terms of fantasy production. I look for Saquon. I bet you Saquon will get a lot of catches this game. He's going to get targeted a lot. Not even just running the ball. Look for those flips out of the backfield and some design passing plays for him.
Mm-hmm. Packers, Vikings. Let's start Vikings side of things. I think the question is where do we go with Adam Thielen against a pretty damn good Packers defense?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where the matchup is. Obviously, Justin Jefferson will be the number one cause for concern for this Packers team. I'm definitely still would still start Adam Thielen this week. But on the other side of the ball, the Packers, I don't know.
I just want to close out the Thielen thing. I'm playing Thielen. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. The Vikings have had the Packers number when they're playing at home in this inter-division matchup. So I think the Vikings will be able to score. I'm excited about their offense this year. So I'm rolling with Adam Thielen if I drafted him, 7th, 8th round, wherever it might be for you. I'm going to play him in a matchup. I think there's going to be a lot of points and a high total here. So I think Vegas is implying a lot of points. I think there's going to be a lot of points. Thielen is a guy that scores touchdowns, so I'm going to play him here. But yeah, Packers side of things. Sandy was telling me that I didn't even notice it. Lazard's got some injury issue apparently. So I don't think I'm trusting Romeo Doubs. This is that's not happening. I can't do that.
Yeah, I don't.
Randall Cobb, if I'm in how are you in a bind in week one?
Yeah.
I think Randall Cobb is going to be out there running a ton of routes. He might run the most routes on this team. So Randall Cobb would be the guy of anyone. If Alan Lazard is playing, I'm going to start him. Because, again, I think he's the top option. But if something happens where he's not, honestly, Randall Cobb would be the guy I'm most willing to rely on.
Week one, Sammy Watkins? Week one, Sammy Watkins? Could see it.
That would be That would be awesome. No chance I'm touching that guy with a 10-foot pole, but that would be awesome. Let's go Bucks, Sunday Night Football. 2 games left here. Bucks, Cowboys.
Jalen Tolbert?
So I'm rolling Zeke out. I'm rolling CD out. I think I'm willing to play Jalen Tolbert, but there's got to be let's bring up a couple guys we've talked about here, Jalen Tolbert or Robert Woods.
Jalen Tolbert.
AJ Green or Jalen Tolbert.
AJ Green.
Drake London or Jalen Tolbert.
Jalen Tolbert.
Let's do one more. Let me do one more. George Pickens or Jalen Tolbert.
Jalen Tolbert.
So the Bucs have had a great run defense, right? That's what they've been known for the last number of years. Now, is it as good with the departure of Ndamukong Suh? Of course, Vita Vea is still there, so it's still going to be a great front, especially with Devin White back there as well. So I think the Cowboys are still going to need to pass the ball at a high level, but is it Pollard and Zeke really involved as passers? And are we going to be battling between Tolbert, Fehoko, Noah Brown? Because it seems like Tolbert hasn't really separated himself. But again, I think when the going gets tough for this team, Tolbert has that proven ability to get volume. I know it's South Alabama, but proven ability to demand targets, get open, make plays, that I think he'd be the guy they rely on when the going gets tough and this team is down. So I'm probably trying to sit him, but I think there's a chance he could be a really reliable guy for the Cowboys on Sunday night.
Yeah, points in this game, I think. So I think Jalen Tolbert is definitely an option you could look at. I'm in lockstep with T-Mac too. I think CD is also obviously a great option. Ezekiel Elliott, Dalton Schultz,
of course.
But
Bucs side of things. So I don't think Chris Godwin's going to play. I know he's out of the knee brace. I'd just be shocked if he plays, man. And then Russell Gage is still nursing the injury. I think if anything happens where either of those two are out,
you're starting Julio?
Yeah. I got to fire up the number 2 guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Bucs offense is going to throw the ball a ton.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson, I think, got cut, right, in camp.
So
I think Julio would be a great option if both Gage and Godwin aren't able to play.
I have to start him, man. Against the Cowboys defense, I would absolutely have to.
Yeah, the secondary is just absolute cheeks.
Now, if Russell Gage or Chris Godwin are playing, I know I'm worried about Godwin in terms of outlook for the year with that holding that injury tag. But in a matchup like this, if he's out there, I gotta play whoever the number 2 guy is for the Bucs. Regardless of how worried I am about Godwin and re-injury and whatnot. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, that's fair. I still like Chris Godwin this year. I don't know about week 1. Obviously, if he's not playing, don't play him. And later on, moving on, I think he's going to be a very viable option in this offense. Like we've seen both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have great fantasy finishes in this offense with Tom Brady. So, but going into week 1, I agree. I think Julio could be a great start. And he's still honestly available in a lot of leagues. Like obviously he has that big star name that a lot of people might find at the end of their drafts, but you'd be surprised. He might still be on your waiver wire in a lot of leagues, that, especially the ones that drafted early too.
Yeah. Broncos Seahawks, last game here. We're firing up. We're definitely firing up the Seahawks or the Broncos wide receivers in Sutton and Judy. This is a Seahawks pass defense that is not going to be very good this year in my mind. The real conversation is the Metcalf Lockett. I'm playing DK Metcalf. I think this is a game at home for the Seahawks. I think they'll be able to manage to keep this competitive. I think a guy like DK, his physical stature and ability will be a big part in that, and getting him the ball and allowing him to make plays. The real question to me is, I don't think I can play Tyler Lockett yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you drafted DK Metcalf at his current ADP, you kind of have to start him. You're kind of locked in that fate, unfortunately. I don't like DK Metcalf this year just because who's throwing him the ball, Geno Smith or Drew Lock. It's the battle of the shitheads at this point, I think.
It's Geno starting.
Geno just for the whole season. But for Geno, exactly. I think DK is a start. I agree on the Tyler Lockett. It's a wait and see. I think there's better options out there. Some of the sleepers that we mentioned throughout this draft or throughout this video, I think are better options. I'm really curious to see kind of how this Broncos defense shapes up to be, especially their secondary too, because I think we know what they are capable of on their defensive line. It's just the matter of getting guys healthy.
Yeah, I think that's a question mark. I think there's a chance. I think they've got a good secondary, but they didn't play all that well last year.
No, and that's the thing too, right? Like the Seahawks offensive line is horrible. So if Geno Smith doesn't have a lot of time to throw, DK Metcalf runs a lot of straight routes or longer routes. Like he might not even be able to get the ball. Geno Smith might not be able to get the ball in time.
Yeah,
so.
And I think that there's a chance that the Seahawks team might want to run the shit out of the ball because they want to keep this close, and it's Pete Carroll, right? All right, every single game covered. Again, if you guys enjoyed the video, let us know. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below. We're happy to help with any start-sit decisions you're willing to make or you're looking to make. I know we've had a bunch lately, so happy to answer them. And go check out our friends over at Betfred. Link down below in the description. A couple of those props we love. Christian Kirk. And who am I forgetting that you had?
Mike Williams, your boy.
Christian Kirk, Mike Williams. We love those props this weekend. Huge targets for us. So go check it out over at Betfred. Like I said, link down below. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.